Let's go ahead and write our first little unit test here using nodeunit. I'm going to go back to my text editor here, and I'm going to bring up a file called trivial.js. Now, I'm not going to actually include or require any modules or something like that. It's going to be a little weird maybe, but you really just say exports.testName equals function, and that function is passed a test object. Now, what you're going to do on this is you're going to sort of say, you're going to sort of test things, and you can use this test object to register whether those conditions succeed or fail or something, and then when you're done, you're going to say test.done. And this is the key to nodeunit, that this particular test has finished, and depending on what the results of or the previous assertions that you did, it'll tell you whether the test failed or succeeded. So for example, I can just do something kind of trivial here, test that true equals true. And then once I've tested that, I'll say test done, and then nodeunit can determine whether or not the test succeeded. To actually execute the test, I'm going to come here, and in the node modules folder in the .bin, you'll now see there's a program called nodeunit, and I can run this on Unix, and you'll also actually see, if you look in node modules, oops, I didn't spell it correctly, you'll also see that on Windows it'll install a .bat version, so that I can also run that on Windows as well. So I'm going to, on this machine here, let's clean my screen up a little bit. Great. So I'm going to run the nodeunit script, and then I'm just going to actually give it the name of the trivial.js file. And what it's going to do is it's going to go looking for each sort of exported test there, pass in that test object for it, and run it. So I'll come back to here, and I'll do that, and trivially, of course, it works and it runs. So that's the basics of it, and you can just, for any code you want to run, anything you want to execute, you can add as many tests. You can have one test test a large number of different things for you or something, but this is the basics of it. So I don't know if you recall, but a couple of lessons ago I wrote this reverse Polish notation calculator. So I created a little module here that to sort of extract that functionality out, and I put a little compute function in it, and you give it an array of things to sort of a parsed array of an arithmetic expression, and it computes that result for you and returns the result. So I've actually gone ahead and written some tests for this, and this is kind of a good example. Like whenever I write a little library or a series of functions, I want to make sure it works. So you'll see here the first test it's going to run is addition, and I've added this new thing here called expect, and what that is going to do is it says I'm expecting to test 4 things. So by the time you get to test.done, you should have seen that I've tested 4 things, and I want to see, of course, that all of them are successful assertions and everything. And so again, it's just going to run through each of these tests one at a time, and make sure that the number of things that are expected is correct and that they all pass when it sees the test.done. So the only other thing I've done here is if you go back to this RPN.js, you'll see it actually expects an array. So I've actually written a little prep function here which splits up these sort of mathematical expressions and then passes those into the RPN compute. So I should be able to here now just say run this functional tests of all that reverse Polish notation stuff, and you'll see all the tests run just fine. Now you may be looking at this and being a little disappointed in that the only thing I seem to be testing is equality here, and that's a little unsatisfying. You might be wondering, well, are there other things I could test? Is there sort of more robust functionality? And the answer is yes, indeed there is. You can test all sorts of things. So in addition to testing equality, you can actually just say, is the value true? You can actually test inequality here, and you also have sort of 3 different kinds of equality you can test. You can just test simple equals, not equals. You can test equality or inequality deeply of all sort of arrays and their values and objects and their subvalues and everything. And then I can also test strict equals, like it would say that the string 2, 3 is not the same as the number 23 or something. You can also assert that if you want to check error handling in your code, you can use the throws thing here to make sure that some code that you execute does throw, or that some code you execute does not throw an exception or something. So you do have quite the wide range of functions you can use when you write your tests. And for just simple mathematical stuff, we've only needed to use the equals. But of course, as we sort of expand our tests and do more interesting things, we'll definitely want to use some of these other methods as well.